Okay, so it's Wednesday evening, 21st of August, and I'm here this evening at Oliver's Jazz Bar in Greenwich, iconic part of London. And I've got a special guest with me today, and I'm going to make sure I pronounce his name right. His name is Arun Luthra, and he's a saxophonist, and he's come over from the United States to do a tour. So, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming down to talk.
No problem at all. It's a lovely little venue, and I've been there, before, so it's good. And you might as well just get cracking on, because you actually have a gig in about 25 minutes' time, and you're on a tour of the UK.
That's right. Yes.
And this week it started the
That's
tour?
right. We started on Monday, August 19th. We played the iconic Ronnie Scott's, and last night, Tuesday the 20th, we were at Kansas Smitty's.
Ah, okay.
And
Yes.
tonight we're in Greenwich here at Oliver's Jazz Bar, and then Friday we'll be at the Verdict in Brighton.
Okay, so you're heading down to the South Coast. That's great. So, you said you played at Ronnie's. Have you played there before as a leader, or?
Not as a leader, no. This was my first time leading a band as a leader. I'm sorry, this was my first time playing at Ronnie Scott's as a leader, and I would really describe it as one of those pinch me moments, just such an iconic venue, so much history, even some personal connection, because when my family, on my father's side, the Punjabi side of my family, when my grandfather immigrated from India to Kenya, raised his family there, then after Kenyan independence, my uncles all moved to the UK, including my dad, and they were, they've told me many times that, in the 60s they were hanging out at Ronnie Scott's, so there's a real, it's just I really feel a connection to the place. It's a real dream come true.
And you played at Kansas Smitty's. That's one place I haven't been to yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I was really delighted with that place.
Wow.
with the room. One thing just from a musician's perspective, the acoustics were really, really nice. It's got a low ceiling, but it's got a really nice room sound, and you really feel like you don't have to play very hard to be heard.
Wow,
and the audience there, they really come to listen. It's not a chatty crowd, so they're really listening. And the venue took really good care of us. It was really, really nice experience to play there.
Wow, okay, so that is a venue I'll have to put on my list then to go and check out.
Yeah.
Wow, so, other than that, you're a saxophonist.
That's right, yes.
So you played tenor and soprano.
Right.
And also, you're konnakol.
Konnakol. Oh, yes. Konnakol artist, yes. So my band is called the Konnakol Jazz Project. And konnakol is the art of vocalizing rhythms that comes from South Indian classical music, which is also known as Carnatic music.
Okay.
There are two schools of classical music in India. In the north it's called Hindustani music, and in the south it's called Carnatic music. And Hindustani music is more well known in the West. It was popularized by Ravi Shankar, who's a sitar player.
Okay, right.
He was friends with the Beatles and became very well known in the West, and he comes from the north.
Yeah.
So the southern tradition is not really as well known in the West, and konnakol comes from the southern tradition. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, so so you vocalize on stage and things like that.
Yeah, the way to think about it is it's playing percussive rhythms, but vocally instead of on a drum. So the syllables that you use mimic the sound of a drum. Yeah. Okay,
so I have actually seen many years ago Trilok Gertu, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly.
Yeah.
That's good, right? With John McLaughlin. This was at the South Bank Centre many years ago, and he had an amazing percussion. So even including a bucket of water, which I thought, okay, that's good, but he's just amazing. But he was vocalizing, so is he doing something similar?
Yes, absolutely.
So he's from that, originally from...
Yeah, my understanding of his background is that he does come from the Hindustani tradition, although don't hold me to that, I could be wrong. But the thing is, konnakol is such a powerful discipline and art form that musicians from both the Hindustani and Carnatic tradition learn it. I was very lucky to get to hang out with John McLaughlin not too long ago.
Oh, okay, yes.
And he was regaling me with stories of first meeting Ravi Shankar and all this. Yeah, Ravi Shankar is the iconic Hindustani musician of all time, and especially in the West. And he said, after hanging out with Ravi Shankar for a while, Ravi Shankar took John McLaughlin aside and said, "Son, you need to study konnakol."
Oh, wow. And someone's hoovering this. That is the first time that's ever happened at an interview. Anyway, that's
So
great.
it just goes to show that konnakol is a really, what can I say? It's an art form that all Indian classical musicians value and think is really important. Yeah.
Okay, forgive me if this might sound a silly question, but is it usual or more typical for percussionists to do konnakol?
Yes, that's exactly right. So the way that the music is taught in the Indian classical music tradition is it's completely an oral tradition. So your teacher will, for example, recite a rhythm, and then you'll recite it back using these konnakol syllables.
Right.
And the syllables correspond to specific ways of striking the drum with your hands. And then after you've done that, then you can also then play, your guru, your teacher can recite the rhythm and you can play it on your instrument, or your teacher can play the rhythm on a drum and you recite it back. So there's a one-to-one correspondence between the syllables and the striking of the drum.
Okay, that's great. And also, I just wanted to touch on your sort of musical output. So are you promoting a record at the moment?
Not currently. That's next on the list. Is I want to put out an album of my konnakol Jazz Project's music, and then I've also got a couple of other projects that I've been working on. Okay. But yes, kind of that's next on the list in terms of building my discography, is for sure.
Okay, well that's good. So you've got a tour without actually promoting a record at the same time. So that's a good start.
Yeah,
actually.
well, I mean, I want people to hear the music.
Yeah.
As you have the chance to perform music over a period of time, the music matures and develops, and then it kind of, once it reaches that kind of mature state, I think that's an ideal time to make the recording. Actually.
Okay. Okay. And then we haven't got much time, so I'll just sort of motor through. Just wanted to touch on, you seem to have played with a really lot of top quality musicians out there in the States as well. So are you like a session man, or do you play a lot of sessions, or are you part of other bands?
I mean, I think like many other musicians, your career kind of evolves into different forms as time goes by. And most of us, when we're starting out, our dream is to play with our heroes.
Right. So
you take every chance you can get. And, it could be, and play any kind of music. When I first got to New York, I was playing in horn sections with Haitian pop bands. I was doing R&B and funk gigs, and I was playing jazz standard gigs, and I was sometimes leading my own band or just going to sit in with people, just playing everything. Yeah. And then, when I moved to New York, which is where I live now, I got to meet a lot of my heroes, Billy Harper, Charlie Persip, Reggie Workman, all of these iconic musicians.
Workman.
Yep. And Bernard Purdy is another, iconic name.
Yeah.
And so you meet these great artists, and then, if they like you and you impress them, they invite you to play with them. And I've been able to do that, and that's an essential part of a musician's development, especially in this musical tradition, I would say.
Yeah, especially in jazz.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's the questions I got. So after your sort of gig on Brighton, are you heading back to the States?
That's right. I head back to the States, and then I've got, just like most musicians, it's a project-based existence, right? So my konnakol Jazz Project, that's my band, that's my principal kind of artistic voice, but I've got a project that I co-lead with an Australian saxophonist named Andy Sugg, where we're composing music that's inspired by The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky, and we're touring that in Europe next year. And then the konnakol Jazz Project is going to be touring the Midwest of the United States next spring with a guest artist, my principal konnakol teacher named Selva Ganesh Viyanakram. And then I also completed a suite that I composed, which I need to record now. So and that's called Monarchs of Queens, and it tells the story of the iconic jazz musicians who lived in Queens. So it's just a lot of different things like that, and so you just get one project after another, and they kind of overlap a little bit, and you go from one thing to the next, and always trying to express your artistic vision.
So sounds exciting. You're obviously quite busy as well, so that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, okay, so thanks for the interview. Obviously, if you want people to check out your website, is it arunluthra.com?
It's arunluthra.net, actually.
Okay.
Funnily enough, arunluthra.com is taken when I tried to get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So arunluthra.net is my website. I know that's sometimes hard to remember to spell, so you can also find me at sweetsoulsound.com.
Sweetsoulsound.com. Okay. So great. Thanks for the interview, and look forward to seeing you play later on.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. You're welcome.